sat at this table, Jake Teitelbaum. Thank you very much for being here. Originally from Durham. You're a Wake Forest senior, about to graduate in April. You have an amazing story. You're in college, all of a sudden, you're diagnosed with cancer. What happens?
Yeah, you know, it was a bit of a storm. I came back from studying abroad, actually. Came back, got diagnosed a few days later. I finished my junior year, and then, bam, came home to a diagnosis. It wasn't exactly the way I wanted to finish that year, but...
And you were diagnosed with refractory Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah, so original diagnosis was Hodgkin's lymphoma. We ended up finding out I was refractory a few months into treatment, so...
What does that mean, Jake?
It means that I was in a small percentage of Hodgkin's patients that have a particularly resistant form. So the standard of care for Hodgkin's is ABVD treatment, the specific type of chemotherapy, and I ended up being resistant to that type of chemo. So it was a little bit more of an intense procedure and a little elongated treatment process.
So stem cell transplant, 25 days in the hospital, and we have socks in front of you because, you know, they give you a kit, if you will, when you go to the hospital, and there's some socks that aren't the most attractive socks, which kind of became your best friend 25 days in the hospital. You have founded the Resilience Project. Tell me why you did that, and what do you plan to do with it going forward?
Absolutely. So, you know, it was going into the hospital as an inpatient, you know, a number of times, and, you know, upon being admitted, you get those hospital socks. And, you know, for me, after I went in, when I was going in for my transplant, this is the 5th time I've gone in.
And you're how old when this is happening? This is 2015 when this is happening?
Yeah, so I'm 21.
Okay.
And I remember going in for my transplant and getting those socks for the 5th time in 6 months or so. And, you know, they stood out to me. And they stood out to me because they represented what was to come. You know, it was like those socks were the indicator of the chemotherapy, you know, that chemotherapy that would tear my body apart. It was, the socks represented the isolation, you know, it was just, they were the epitome of that experience. And so when I went in, I made a point of just, you know, this tiny rebellion, but it was wearing my own socks. And I mean, it sounds ridiculous saying it out loud.
No, it doesn't, because your whole life is upside down.
Right, right.
So the stem cell works. You've been in remission since October 2016.
Right.
You have the Resilience Project. Explain how this works.
Yeah, so we are working directly with patients. So we're kind of engaging them in this therapeutic process. And each design is actually designed with and alongside a particular patient. So each design represents some aspect of their life, their journey. So, you know, Jack's socks, for example.
All right, so let's start with these.
Yeah, so Jack is our 4th patient and is the most knowledgeable 12-year-old I've ever seen when it comes to animals.
Did he design it, or did somebody design it for him?
So we design it with them. So, you know, we're taking ideas about, you know, for Jack, it was kind of what animals he liked. You know, for Lily, she's a huge Owls fan. And I mean, from day one when she was diagnosed, she had a stuffed animal with her, a stuffed owl with her. And for her, it became this symbol of, you know, of resilience. So we made a sock with her that featured an owl. So, you know, the idea is to give the patient, you know, a sense of helping them bring their personality to treatment, giving them a sense of agency in that process.
I just want to show a video about what this is all about and your journey.
One of the hardest things about the treatment process as a whole is that you surrender a little bit of who you are. You enter this really sterile environment where you feel a little bit like a number. You're told when to eat, what to eat, when to take your meds. You pee into a little bottle. It takes away a little bit of who you are as an individual.
I have AML leukemia. It's hard sometimes that I can't really get out like my friends can and my sister.
I hear birds singing. I see the sun shining. I want to be famous.
I know that Samari is tired because I'm tired, and I'm not going through the treatment. It is just about taking a toll, really, on both of us.
There's one day in particular I felt completely wiped. and I'm in the bathroom and I find my eyes in the mirror. My eyes are really heavy. My cheeks are way too prominent. I'm the most pathetic version of myself I've ever seen. And I look down and I'm still wearing the most absurd pair of socks I own. And in that moment, as foreign as I felt in my own body, those socks helped remind me who I was, who I wanted to be.
My interest in owls started towards the end of 4th grade. I have a blanket with owls, I have a shirt with an owl on it. I have probably like 50 different stuffed owls.
The cool thing about Resilience Project socks is that we make them with the patient. We're getting our hands dirty in this fun, creative, therapeutic process with the patient.
Both of my parents had cancer, and in fact, all my father's siblings died of cancer. The socks let Samari know that he's not the only one with cancer.
Having something to hold on to that helps you retain a sense of who you are, it really helps improve your mental outlook.
When I put the socks on, it makes me feel happy because there's other people out there.
When you buy a pair of Resilience Project socks, you're sending money to someone that needs money to pay for treatment.
My first thought was, I gotta be with him, not gonna be able to go to work.
Deductibles, co-pays, prescriptions, gas, food, lodging, all of those things add up.
But on a much bigger level, you're sending someone who's going through a really difficult time, mental and emotional support to help them get through that.
We write to you to let you know someone cares about you very much.
Oh my God, I wasn't expecting that.
We're reminded every month of how much we still owe the hospital, and every little bit helps.
You know, I gotta pay bills, so I could just hug him to death.
I think if you want to know what resilience means, you should visit any kind of cancer wing at a hospital.
Resilience for me means that we can do this.
I learned not to give up.
We can get through this. We're strong.
You said something profound there, that a sick person shouldn't be indebted to bills. So half of the net proceeds are going back to the patients. Mm-hmm. How important is that to you? Because people started collecting money for you, but you didn't really need the money. Insurance was really taking care of most of your illness. I'm suspecting you changed a lot with that cancer diagnosis.
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, you hear horror stories about people getting diagnosed and not having insurance. And, you know, I was fortunate in that I had health insurance, I had good insurance that covered the majority of those expenses. But, you know, when I was hospitalized for extended periods of time, you run into other patients. And I was so taken back by the number of patients I met that were struggling to pay for care, not because they didn't have insurance, but, you know, the expenses, the co-pays, the loss of a job as a result of being hospitalized for extended periods of time. I mean, if you don't have a source of revenue, it's really difficult to pay for everything that's going on. So, you know, I think for me, it was a very eye-opening experience in more ways than one.
Have you ever done anything like this as a little kid? Did you have lemonade stands? Were you always giving back, or did this just say to you, I have to do something?
You know, I think it was a combination of both. I mean, growing up, I think you can ask my parents, I was definitely a little entrepreneurial as a kid.
Okay.
But, you know, I think when you have an experience that really does kind of throw your life upside down, you know, you get taken out of school, you're, you know, kind of put on your butt for an extended period of time. And as someone who's so used to being outside, as someone who's really active, you know, that really, it messed with me. And I think, you know, having an opportunity to change that experience for other people, it really does mean a lot.
You're about to graduate from Wake Forest. Is this the life's work coming?
Yeah.
Explain this to me.
Absolutely. So, you know, it's really exciting. I'll be transitioning to full-time May 1st, as soon as I walk out of my last final. And, you know, we have one other full-time employee that will be joining me on
These
May
are
1st.
friends that you gathered?
So I didn't know him. You know, we took a number of interviews. Since we've gotten some exposure, we've had, you know, a number of people reaching out wanting to be involved, which is exciting.
Uh-huh.
So, Yeah, I'll be going full time May 1st, and I think that being able doing this while taking a course load can be challenging at times. So being able to dedicate all my time.
How did you do this? I mean, you were fighting cancer. You found the sock manufacturers, which are being made in North Carolina.
Yep.
How did you do all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea started to come about when I was in the hospital, seeing the socks, right, seeing other patients. But I mean, I didn't really kind of get things moving a ton until I started to gain health. I mean, I think when you don't have that much energy when you're lying around the house, it's difficult to do too much. So it really started to take shape a little bit when I was still in maintenance chemo, but nonetheless had a lot more energy.
Never in your wildest imagination would you be a college student with cancer, right? What else got you through that?
I think when I was originally diagnosed, and the doctor looked me in the eye as a 21-year-old and told me that I had cancer, obviously you're scared, right? You never want to hear that as a young person. You never expect to hear that as a young person who's been healthy their whole life. But to be honest, the prognosis for Hodgkin's was so good, that I was optimistic. For me, it was a matter of time before I got better. But that fall, when we found out that the cancer wasn't responding to the treatment and that I was going to have to pursue this more aggressive regimen, that shook me. Because up until that point, it was like this mindset of perseverance. It was, I had gone back to school. I was really committed to finishing school, and I was kind of muscling through, and then you get hit back and you're like, wow, I was giving this all I had. I was going to school, I was going to chemo every other week, and then you hear that that's not enough. You're gonna have to start a more aggressive treatment. That was difficult.
Life is fragile. You know that better than anybody.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're giving back and helping people, everybody can go on, they can help you out with this. It's resilience.gives.
Correct.
To help you grow your company for all the right reasons, that you're giving back to a whole bunch of people you don't even know. So, Jake Teitelbaum, thank you so much for coming on, and continued good health.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Spend all night kissing, and if one was right here, then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked, if I'm as a wish, and I found the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Need to keep locked in the grocery store of my mind, just to save time. Skip right ahead to the last ride.